impactful. One can only imagine what the other sessions will be like. So far, it's been amazing. The speakers, wonderful, excellent.
It can only get better.
It can only get better.
Kingsley, for you, what has it been for you?
Well, in just 2 words, I would say it's been a fitting beginning. Fitting start. Having had this kind of opening service, or day one of the convention, shows that what was being promised, the promise is being fulfilled. Beginning from the first segment, the Faith Clinic, getting on to the panel discussions, all the presentations that were done, it really showed that indeed the convention was really meant to be the way it is. And it's been very impactful for the first day. So I trust that going forward, the remaining part of today, tomorrow, and of course Sunday is really going to be really impactful.
Yeah. Unfortunately, one of the setbacks was that we didn't get to start on time, but it wasn't fair when the service eventually started. The whole time that was kind of wasted was made up for, and we were blessed from that. So the first service was actually the Faith Clinic, and before we went to join them, we talked about it, that the topic that we'll be discussing is positioning the inner man for great exploit, and I know we are blessed from that one. So let me start from Kingsley. What are some of those things you got from that message, and how would you rate the message? As for me, I know that time that message was pretty timely. It was precise, quick. It wasn't time wasting. But for you, what will you say about the message?
Before we went straight to the opening part of the service, we had talked about the spiritual consideration of this convention, having started with the spiritual aspect and then getting to the social business and all of that, and build to close with spiritual aspect as well. So that was also a very fitting, I should still use that word, a fitting spiritual charge for participants of this convention. The man of God who shared heavenly messages really made cases for attitudinal change, changes in our characters, changes in our conduct, such that we make us, the participants, us, the believers, to stand, be better repositioned or better positioned for greater exploit. So he talked about going back to a Christian life, looking at those things that we do that we should not do. Talked about closeness to God, that we should work again on our relationship and our closeness with God, and then have some good relationship with God. He also talked about the plagues and the effects of sinful life in the road to making exploits. So he encouraged believers, encouraged the participants to really do their best to desist from sinful life if they must make some good exploits.
Yeah, like you said, one thing he started with was those that know their God.
Yes.
Those that know their God. So you must know your God before you know your God. I know we made a case, we talked about that before we joined them in the auditorium, that you have to have a personal relationship with God first for you to be able to do that exploit. And the man of God who took that, established that more and more, that you must know your God for you to do exploit. And the breakdown was wonderful, breaking it down to inner man and the outer man, the exploit, and what you must do to be strong and to exploit. So it's a wonderful experience. I know people have been touched, youths have been touched, youths have been blessed from that one. After that, immediately we went through and straight to the discussion. There was no time for break. It was straight, and the discussants were around. We had wonderful discussions. I know MM have a lot to say, because before we joined them, he was talking about that she wanted to talk about, to hear about the relationship, the career talk and all that. So how will you rate the discussion, that service?
The entire discussions?
Yes.
Everything was...
And if your expectations for that service was met?
My expectations were met in some aspects, especially in the business aspect and job creation. we talked about using what you know how to do to actually make money and to do exploits by extension. The professor who talked about job creation, he talked about job creation through ICT, through agriculture, through fashion. I love fashion too, and I'm already considering that after this convention. And then he talked about other many profound thoughts, but where I didn't really get my expectations met was the relationship and the marriage aspect, because it wasn't as deep as I thought it was going to be.
Maybe because of the time, the time was reduced for us to accommodate some other things. We didn't start well, so maybe I start on time rather. So maybe because of the time, that is why and the speaker was not able to get this point across to us. But for the speakers, if you are to tell somebody that wasn't here about the speakers, how will you rate them? What
About the
precise?
speakers,
Yeah.
I would say our Apostolic Church is blessed, and we are rich. We have so much potential in this church. One would think these people were paid to come make these presentations, but really they were not paid. They are members and parts of our church. It's indeed great and delightful to know that we have these treasures in our church. And they are young people, they are youths, making exploits in their different areas of specialization. So I would say we have the best in our church.
All right, that's good. Kingsley, what will you say rather about these discussions? How will you rate it? And what are some of those things you've gotten from that discussion?
Well, for the discussion, I like it that this was more like a room discussion, a room made up of young people alone, that we were able to tell ourselves some truth. We were able to consider issues that many people dread to talk about, especially the presenter who talked about business, entrepreneurship. Now, he told us some truth that sometimes we don't quite give priority to those concerns. So he talked about some issues relating to our social life, and the question and answer session too also showed how honest the conversation was, because young people got the chance to ask the kind of questions that perhaps we only have to do in via inbox. But so I got questions, or there were questions, and they were quite very honest answers. So I think it's really towing the path that this convention is really truly for young people.
All right, the job creation section was taken by Elder Professor Edet Udo, and he had a lot to say. He said that your background should not hold you down. He's saying that your background should not put your back on the ground. Your background should not put your back on the ground. You don't have to look at your locality to start up something. And I also said that there have never been a better time, and there will not be just wake up and work. Society have no preparation for you, so you just have to make a way for yourself. Time wasted cannot be regained. That is one of those things the professor said. And procrastination is a killer of destiny. As youth, we don't need to procrastinate. If you have an idea in your mind, in your thoughts, just start up something. He talked about this lady that started with Little Granite 2019, and like we have it today, she's an employer of labor of 5 people. So you just have to start something in the society that you are. You don't have to wait for the government all the time as youth, because we youth, you complain the situations on ground are not favorable, but for us, we need to start up something for ourselves, and God will bless the work of the handwork that we put our hands into. So it has been a wonderful time. Right about now, there's a break, it's brunch break. It's time for convocants and those in camp to take their brunch, and we also need to take our brunch also. But the next service will be for 3. The next service will be for 3 o'clock, and that will be the breakfast service. We're expecting Kule Awuteku to take us on the topic Power as of Old. Powers as of Old. Hopefully we'll have him in the studio before the program starts. Right about now, we want to close the studio session for now. We'll be coming back about 2:45 or thereabout to reopen the studio and talk about our expectation for the next service. So while you take your brunch, while you savor the moment, while you take some water, I want you to stay glued to this station, because as programs will be unfolding, we'll be giving them live and be hitting them live to you on your TV screen and on your phones. Until then, when we come back, we want you to stay blessed, enjoy yourself, and be right back after the lunch and the water that we need to take. Just stay glued to GVTV and I'll be here for you. Bye for now.